So tonight's video is going to be just a little different than the usual norm. We got a little bit of R&R to do with the Heavy Chevy. In a previous video with my buddy, he was running the TRX4 and I was running this. I got bound up in some rocks pretty hard, and the rear axle, I don't run an anti-wrap bar on it, which I should. It got twisted up pretty hard, and this is not the leaf springs that are on it now. They're not this bad, but they're starting to get a weak spot in them. The leaf springs bent pretty hard when I got bound up there. So like I said, we're going to do a little R&R and swap out the bent ones for some nice new ones. And these are actually Tamiya leaf springs from the Bruiser. They're a little bit thicker, heavier duty than the RC four-wheel drive ones. So I tend to run these just to give me a little bit more stability and to stop them from bending as much. So we'll get the body off and I'll give you a little bit of an explanation of what kind of axle I'm running in the rear of this thing. So what this is a Vanquish Curry rock shock. It's for the SCX-10-2. It's a good match for this truck, and if you look on the bottom with these perches where they mount, they are custom machined from a company called JEC Racing. It does some really fine craftsmanship. Really like their product. I have them for the rock jock, and I used to run a AR-44 setup, and he also makes mounts for the AR-44s. JEC Racing, pretty good stuff, quality stuff. So on the rear here, if you look close, you'll be able to see that leaf spring has got a big kink in it. That's a problem. It'll run for a little while like that, but it's gonna break under real heavy load. So those are what we're replacing, both sides. The other side's not quite as bad, but the last thing I want to do is get out in the rocks and have it fail on me. So we're gonna start by removing the wheel and give ourselves a little bit more access and clearance to things while we work. I already have a jack stand under there to support it where we need to be. So you can even see there's the kink, and by having this happen, and it's done it on the other side, like I said, just not quite as bad, but what it's causing to have happen is it's actually completely screwing up the geometry of the suspension too. It's got that axle pulled forward on this side substantially more than the other side. That can cause all kinds of problems. If you look, this shackle is throwing way forward too, and it's causing a binding issue too, and when it starts to flex out, you're actually losing all that throw on the shackle there. That's what stinks about it. It gets locked in there, and that's no good. So yeah, we will put a new main leaf on here. Alright, so we're going to start removing the bolt out of the front mount, and Vanquish tools. They're absolutely amazing. You'll find no better. If you're stripping stuff out all the time and you're getting frustrated with that kind of stuff and you just wanted some tools to rely on day in, day out for working on your RC trucks, get yourself a set of Vanquish tools. They are just the best. The steel is none other. So there's one mount out. Alright, so get the shackle unbolted. Now comes the fun part. Let's see if we can get this top leaf out and leave everything else intact. Like I said, there's some rust buildup in there. Hopefully that'll hold the bottom leaves together. If not, no big deal. We'll just line everything back up. But it's awfully nice when they do stay put, which they are not gonna stay put tonight. They're all coming apart. Cool. Just like a real leaf spring. So, as you can see, this leaf spring completely blew apart on me, which is typical, honestly. But, so we're going to assemble it here, and I just wanted to mention a couple of things. A lot of people run an RC four-wheel drive, or any leaf sprung truck, RC truck for that matter, they're running like no leaves under their trucks, and even softer leaves. I find that they always bend or break in that state. They do flex nice for a little while, but especially if you got a heavier truck or you're running hard and you're actually really pushing the limits, you know, and doing some hardcore lines and everything, you want to, in my opinion, you want some more support in that leaf spring pack. I even run this upper one above the main leaf, and that will stop some of the bending. You know, when you start bending like this, it'll actually counteract that. You still get a ton of flex out of your shackle, and this main leaf does a lot of flex also. So it's just the way I run them, and it works well. I tried the whole soft leaf springs and, you know, one main leaf and one helper and all that stuff, and it didn't work out for me. But in any case, so here's the stack of leaf springs we're going to do. You take a bolt starting at the top and just start lining them up. So the amount of vibration and torque and everything that these leaf springs get. Put a little dab of Loctite on things just to keep them in place. Don't want to use too much though, because it really screws up the threads over time if you keep putting more and more Loctite in there. Just get her placed down there and tighten things up. And hopefully not strip out the brass on this mount. It's the only trouble with these mounts, is them being made out of brass. You gotta be very careful if you're getting a quality bite on the way in. Once you strip that hole, your leaf springs aren't staying on there anymore. And I've got, like on my AR-44 setup, I run U-bolts and all sorts of stuff. Let me grab that quick. So this crazy axle is the AR-44 that I was running on the rear. It is a stock SCX-10-2 AR-44, and it's got beef tubes in it, brass beef tubes in it, whole bunch of stuff. And the U-bolt plates are from a G-made sawback, and I got threaded rod from the hardware store and nuts to fit that, and bent them to fit that, and used an actual center bolt in the leaf spring pack, which you can see comes up through the top. And I drilled out the U-bolt plate for that. And this runs the AR-44 style mounts from JEC. I had this truss on here. I did have an anti-wrap bar mounted on this setup. It worked pretty good, but unfortunately, it's probably just my engineering, but it made the truck too stiff, and you got zero flex out of the suspension with the anti-wrap bar on there. But I got a couple places to mount it on the rock jock, so we'll see what we can do in a future video. Put an anti-wrap bar in this truck. But yeah, so that's one of the rear ends that I run in this truck. finish tightening down this side. And like a real truck, they make different wedges and stuff you can throw underneath these leaf springs and change your pinion angles. If you got a steep angle or something like that, you can change that up. You know, if you're lifting your truck and you're dropping that axle way down, you can change the pinion angle of things. You see, you don't want it dead straight, but right where this one is set is pretty good. So we're going to finish this side by throwing the bolts back through the eyes on the main leaf and the mount. Main leaf with the shackle. And I think I'll fast track the rest of this for you guys. So holy crap. You need a real impact for this one. Unreal. Jeez. See, this is why the leaf springs were all twisted up. Well, this is part of what happened when the leaf springs twisted up. It got bound up so hard, it tightened this side, the wheel nut, up so hard. It's kind of a miracle it didn't snap the axle shaft. It's pure mayhem. I've had lug nuts on a Mack truck come off, a real Mack truck, come off easier than this. Oh, it finally broke. Finally broke it loose. There you have it. Leaf springs on a Trail Finder 2 with a Curry rock chuck. Thanks guys, thanks for watching.